Welcome back. Here we go making tiles. Tiles in perspective is good to have in a space where you need to divide things up, you need to space things out. So it's not just tiles, it's you can use the same technique for dividing up streetlights and evenly placed UFO ships and whatever you might want to divide up. So here's basically the steps that you go through. You need equidistant marks that tell you how far apart each tile is going to go. So knowing that this line here represents what's level and not traveling in the distance away from you or towards you, this one, these lines come towards us. These are not equal distances because this is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's the whole point of what we're doing with tiles here, is to find out how big do they get as they come towards us, or how small do they get as they go away. So this is what the system is for. And if you saw the circle exercise, X marks that spot. And so when you use the diagonals that do not go to the vanishing point, you'll end up finding out that they have their own vanishing point along the horizon line here somewhere, as long as those tiles are traveling horizontally. So as long as they're level and not ramping up or anything like that. So I'm going to put my horizon line back here just as a basic guide, and somewhere along there, pretty close there, you'll see what happens. So first thing I'm going to do is create equidistant marks. Now you can make equidistant marks back here if you like to. I've got on my ruler, I've got these spaces, and if I want my tiles to be that big, then great, I can make those marks. If I want to make different sized marks, then maybe I need to mark just the size that I want them to be. So let's say I want them to be that big. So you can see those little marks. So I make a mark on there, and that's how big that goes. If I make little mistakes back here, obviously, I'm not sure if you can tell, these two marks are just not even a centimeter apart. So if I'm off by a millimeter, that's going to have a big impact by the time it gets closer. So by the time this measurement gets up here and gets bigger, that's going to have a big impact. So you may want to start way down on the edge of your page and make equal distance marks there. But it's up to you, as long as you use the same level to do that with. I think I might go and make my equal distance marks up at this level. So I'm going to draw myself a line, because I'm not that good. Oh, I got a message. I'm going to make a horizontal line. I'm going to continue this line just as a guideline. So it's super light. Okay? And I'll use my white pen. And so I'm going to use this line as a starting point. And I'm going to make a mark. And how big do I want those tiles to be by the time they get here? Oh, I guess it won't make a mark. I'm going to go this wide right there. Okay? So I know that I'm going to have one mark that's right here, and another mark that's right here. And I'm making these equidistant marks. I'm going to go past the wall, even though this floor, I want to make tiles all the way in front. And I'm not sure that this tile here, this guideline that I'm making, this really light horizontal line, I'm not sure that that will end up being a tile. A grout line, we'll say. We shall see. So I'm just going to make that across. As far as I want the tiles to go, I mean, you could decide that you only want tiles in half the room. That's up to you. But for this exercise, I want to see your guidelines. When you make your circles, I want to see those guidelines. And this one gets over kind of like that. Very good. So from here, I'll go back to my pencil. I'm going to just create a bowling alley. Hopefully those are dry. So this line here, I connect to the vanishing point, and I'm going to go from the back wall as far forward as I want to go. And I'll go from this wall and continue that. And in behind this one, still connecting to the vanishing point. Okay. So there's my bowling alley line. So this is step number 2. Once I got my equidistant lines or marks, and so these lines are equal distances, but they're not at the same time. And the reason why is because they get bigger as they come apart from the vanishing point. So they are not parallel, they're not equal distances, but yet they are. If you measure between them, they are equal distances. So let's say I don't want to make tiles over here. This is actually the same distance as that is, even though this appears to be much bigger than, say, the tiles that are over here. And it's a windshield wiper effect, where if you've got windshield wipers that turn down, eventually they hit the other one, right? So there I go. Next thing I do is make a guideline, and I'll use my trusty green again, to tell me how big I want these things to go. So if I want a tile from this corner to that corner to be that deep, then that's the angle I'll choose. If I don't want to, if let's say I wanted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tiles, and I wanted those to be divided 5 times as they come forward by the time they hit this line, then I can do that. I can avoid that altogether. This was just a line I invented. So I can make far fewer tiles. I can have it divide 5 times, 1, twice, 3, 4, 5, and 5 would be way the heck up here somewhere off the page. I'll move this up so you can see. Right? So this can lead off the page. So I'm gonna go right about here. And if I want it to match that line I've already got, then sure. I'm gonna make that divide 5 times. I'm gonna draw a light line right through there. So one of my intersections happens right there on the horizontal line that I made. And I did that by choice, as you just saw. I'm gonna go back to that corner so that this is also one of my choices. So my first tile happens at this intersection. There's the back corner, there's a side. It comes up to here, this is the next one. And the hard part about this is keeping them horizontal. So, because we can be deceived. And so those are my tiles right there. The next corner happens right here. I can see it, I'm not sure if you can see it in the video. But my next guideline crossed over right there. So don't let this lean. Keep those horizontal. It's hard to do, but you may reference other things in your drawings. Then the next one happens right here. So if you can't see it, I'll draw it in. So that's where that diagonal line is traveling, right across there. Okay, and you can see that the tiles, because these are equal distances, this travels a little further because it's now wider. So that ratio is maintained in perspective. Oh, look, and I've leaned it over, haven't I? Okay, straighten that thing out. Then this one, already done. Excellent, good job, me. Then the next one happens way the heck up here. So look at the difference in scale between here and here. And I still want this side to be, so it's nice because I can see this wall back here, and I can see a little bit easier. All right, the next one, how am I going to do that one? So here's what's curious about these lines, is what's really cool. If I keep this guideline going through each of the diagonals, because we know that this diagonal carries on through each of the corners, and it carries up here somewheres. So right up there, you can barely see that line, can't you? So I'll draw it a little bit darker. So it travels right up there. It crosses over the horizon line, which if it's drawn horizontally, is right around there somewheres. Okay? Now if I run out of these lines, I don't want to make tiles over here, but I don't know where the next one happens. So what I'm going to do is connect this corner to this corner to this corner and see where it crosses over this line down here. You can do that with any corner. You can go the opposite direction if you wish, and it should end up very close to the same. We're not robots, but so if I connect this corner with that corner, it should line up with that corner. So you can see where my drawing was off. So maybe I need to find a different set of corners that's a little bit on. Because again, we're not robots, we're not computers, we don't do it perfectly. And watch what happens when I draw this next guideline. So I'm trying to travel through all the corners, and there's where it crosses over here, but watch what happens back here. You'll notice that this diagonal that didn't go to this vanishing point now hits this vanishing point back here on the same level because the tiles were level and they didn't travel any higher or lower. They just travel back in the distance. You could set this up this way as well. So if I take this, any corners go in the other direction, and I can line up the majority of them, then I can go back here and it'll come across. Right now I don't know where it crosses over. It's going to cross over the horizon line somewhere. And then I use another set of corners, and sure enough, if I've done it right, one, I can tell where my next one goes. It should be close to this one, and it should cross over right around the height, and lo and behold, really close to the horizon line, right in there. Okay, so this is our main vanishing point for all lines traveling this direction. The connection between the corners can travel this way as a guideline, so GL1 we'll call it, and GL2 vanishing point. You don't have to create these. All I want to see is this diagonal coming through here somewhere to tell me that you know how far apart to make these tiles. Now that I've drawn these ones in, I can tell how big I want to make that next tile. Okay, so that would be there. If we go back to the circle video, then this circle right here, I can start creating guidelines that go through here. And I can start creating my circle in here, can't I? Because I got my X, and if I want to put a circular hole, or in this case, an ellipse that's in here, or I could do it in here, doesn't matter where, then I can do that whole technique where I find where's the 3/4 marks, or not the 3/4 marks, but where's the halfway point in this quadrant. So there's one. I can come across and do that whole thing, okay? And that'll give me that thing. So I can make a circle that kind of goes in here. You know, use the technique. Don't just guesstimate like I'm doing right now. And then I can have this go straight. I can curve it around if I'd like to. So it'll go in here somewhere because I would find out where that goes, right? So this whole tile takes up one curve. This whole tile takes up another curve. And that would mean that this one is going to be in around here. So this snake gets smaller as it goes if I wanted to do that. And then it's become really hard to mark. So when you do your circles, just be careful not to work too small. It's just really hard to work with that many lines and so on. So these ones right here, if I wanted to create depth to it, then I would drop this down, and you can make a whole other section and create that curve down here. So, and I can make steps that come out here. So this one also would come down here, but how big would this be compared to this one? Which means you take these tiles and you drop those down the same distance. And you would have to draw these again down here somewhere. Right now I'm just guesstimating. And that would come right over here and meet on this backside back here. And all the while, maybe this floor continues across like this. So your tiles are not just for creating tiles. They can map out other things, and you can create what you want with them. And one of those things that you can start creating is circles and curves, making them do what you want them to. Okay? You can take your tiles and you can create diamond shapes. Now you know where that diamond shape would go, if that's where you want that diamond to go. There's all kinds of things you can do. Okay? So have fun with it. And those are your tiles. Make sure you show where the intersections happened with your diagonal and that they're equal distances that create your bowling alleys. And then have at it. Thanks for paying attention. Bye-bye.